A soldier infiltrates a mysterious high-tech facility in search of his missing wife, and he discovers a surrealistic fantasy park where nothing is as it seems. In ancient Rome, a beautiful woman takes an inebriated, heavy-set man into a room and throws away his wine cup. Then, she leads him toward a mattress on the floor where they share a kiss. Seconds later, the woman gets up and orders the man to kneel before her. After she undresses, she tells him to close his eyes, and she walks over to a sword stand on the other side of the room. With a serious look on her face, the woman grabs the large blade, walks back to the unsuspecting man, and slices his throat. As the man perishes, an alarm rings throughout Utopia, a high-tech facility, revealing that the backdrop of ancient Rome was just a set. In the security room, the guards inform their superiors about the unfortunate incident. Then, they remove Natalie from the set, and William, the head of security, arrives to investigate the gruesome scene. The man informs Jeremy Zenner, the head scientist and founder of the company, that one of his puppets went off the rails, and the latter tells him to make sure no one else knows what happened. When Carl, a major investor, worries that the incident might bring unnecessary controversy to the business, Zenner assures that all the clients sign a disclaimer that playing in Utopia could be hazardous to their health. The older man states that even if they built the facility in an unassuming location, they can't just make bodies disappear. So the founder dismisses the dead client as a minor hiccup because their business model centered on marketing beautiful women will never fail. In Astovia, a group of men abduct the helpless Alexis in broad daylight and force her into a van. After the vehicle departs, Julius hands Andre a bundle of cash as payment for the woman. 3 weeks later, Alexis's husband Damon arrives in Astovia in search of his missing wife. The soldier places a small device in his ear and calls his friend, former MI6 agent Rupert in London. When the older man asks if he's certain that the woman's in Astovia, Damon says none of Alexis's friends or family have heard from her for weeks. He adds that he spoke to a recruiter who says he tries to convince the women to come with him, but that if they resist, he'll use any means necessary. Later, Damon spots the recruiter, revealed to be Andre, and introduces himself as the man he spoke to on the phone earlier. The two men head to a restaurant bathroom where the soldier beats the recruiter and orders him to divulge his wife's location. Andre swears he doesn't know because all he does is supply the women in exchange for money. Suddenly, another man enters the bathroom and attacks Damon, but the latter easily takes him out. In a stall, the soldier asks the recruiter again, but when Andre insists that he doesn't know, the man breaks his arm and continues beating him up. The next day, Damon drives a car along a snowy mountain road and remembers the sweet moments he shared with Alexis, such as the two of them making love, and him giving his wife a necklace. Weeks ago, the woman found a letter from the military regarding her husband's next deployment. The man said he hadn't agreed to it yet, but the furious wife stated that she's tired of him constantly getting injured. However, when Alexis asked Damon if he's doing the assignment, he sadly affirmed, much to her disappointment. With tears in her eyes, the heartbroken wife told her husband that she wouldn't be here when he returned. In the present, Rupert tells the soldier that for him to enter Utopia, he'll have to take on a fake identity under the name Thomas Wyeth, complete with a digital ID, a website, a social media history, and an investor's down payment. Eventually, Damon arrives at the gate, and a drone scans his face and checks his credentials before allowing him into the property. Soon, the man enters the main building along with the other clients, including Austin and Edmund. In the lobby, they watch a video of Zenner welcoming them to the 2,000-acre sanctuary. He adds that the customers can choose whatever setting in history they'd like, as well as the woman to keep them company. By the escalator, a woman shows Damon pictures of multiple ladies he can choose from. In a dressing room, the seemingly brainwashed Alexis behaves in a docile, submissive manner and has a constant smile on her face. Surrounding her are other women behaving similarly, including Adelaide, Joan, and Azumi. Suddenly, Ms. Becker appears and tells the ladies to get ready, because Zenner is about to decide what time period they'll be in. Later, the founder gives Carl the honor of assigning the women to their time periods. Then, the older man spots Alexis and is immediately smitten. He introduces himself to the lady, and she flirtily takes his hand and stares into his eyes. That evening, the clients convene at the Great Hall to party and mingle with the women. At the bar, Edmund, Austin, and Michael gather around Alexis and try to vie for her attention. Meanwhile, Ms. Becker speaks to the soldier and encourages him to browse their collection. Then, she mentions that his file says he lost a loved one, so Damon lies about his wife passing away recently. He adds that he'd like someone who reminds him of his late spouse, so Ms. Becker says they can customize his experience and find him a lady who resembles his wife. When the soldier asks where the women come from, she claims that they receive applications from all over the world, but only accept those they consider the best of the best. She adds that the ladies are trained in the facility and enhanced with their proprietary software. Damon wonders what she means by software, so Ms. Becker explains that it's a small augmentation chip implanted in the brain that helps them achieve perfection. Suddenly, the man spots Alexis sitting at the bar, so the older woman tells him to simply inform the employees if there's a lady, in particular, he'd like to meet. When the couple just started dating, she helped him through his recovery as he tried walking on crutches. The man professed his love, but she didn't say it back, reasoning that she doesn't come from an overly emotional family. He understood why she was apprehensive, but knew that her caring nature told him all he needed to know regarding her true feelings. In the present, the soldier discreetly places a device in Austin's pocket and tries to catch his wife's eye. However, even though Alexis starts flirting with him, she doesn't recognize her husband. Later, Zenner addresses the crowd and tells the clients that while they're in Utopia, they can't have access to the outside world, and their computers and phones will be blocked. Concurrently, Ms. Becker sees Natalie staring at her reflection in her cup, so she tells the woman to mingle with the clients. Then, Carl interrupts Damon and Alexis's conversation and says he and the lady have a prior engagement. Moments later, Natalie tells the soldier that because Carl's the first angel investor, he gets certain privileges, such as the first pick of the women. So, she and Joan offer to take the man on a tour of the grounds, and he accepts. In the wardrobe department, the men try on costumes for different time periods, and Damon chooses World War II. While walking through the set, the soldier contacts Rupert, who says he's still trying to figure out how to hack into Utopia's system. When the man mentions the behavior modification chip, the former agent says he was there when the military rolled it out the first time and thinks the technology doesn't work. Suddenly, Natalie joins Damon. But when he asks the French woman if she was born in Paris, she says she doesn't remember. In a nightclub, the man sees his scantily clad wife dancing on stage for the client's entertainment. After the routine, the woman approaches the soldier and says she'd like to show him around. As they make their way across the room, a man tells Damon that he wants the lady, so he gives him a swift punch to the stomach. Backstage, they run into Carl, who takes Alexis away, and when the soldier tries to follow them, 3 guards stop him. So, Natalie intervenes to defuse the situation and tells the man to stay wary of the guards. In the hallway, the investor tells Alexis that she's going to prove how infatuated she is with him later tonight. So the woman says she needs to freshen up and she'll meet him at the party. Moments later, she sees a picture of the Parthenon on the wall, and for a split second, envisions herself next to Damon. Then, she joins the other ladies as they return to the dressing room located on a lower level. Joan sees the dazed look on Alexis's face and asks if she's okay, and the latter says it's like she's in a dream and that she's going to wake up at any moment. In the ancient Rome set, Alexis walks toward Carl carrying grapes, while the other ladies entertain the clients at the villa party. Meanwhile, the clothless Natalie and Adelaide surprise Damon in his bedroom and invite him to join their lovemaking. However, the man politely declines the offer and asks the women to cover up. Then, the soldier asks how long they've been in Utopia, but neither one remembers. After Adelaide leaves the room, the man finds a camera behind the mirror, so he quietly tells Natalie that he needs her help and to meet him at the World War II set tomorrow. The next day, Alexis finally remembers that she's from Manhattan, and Natalie confides that she feels rage for some unknown reason. So, Joan says she can help the others recall their memories because there are parts of their brains that the facility's scientists can't access. Eventually, Alexis remembers the abduction, and when Joan realizes she's starting to have memories, she tells the woman to be careful because the guards are always watching. Later, Azumi and Joan do the deed with Austin in the World War II set. Meanwhile, William, along with 2 guards, arrives outside Damon's room and orders him to come with them. In the elevator, the head of security tells the soldier that he knows who he is, but the latter claims that he doesn't recognize him. They enter Zenner's office and Damon asks the founder how he makes the women behave the way that they do. However, the man says it's a trade secret that he'll only divulge if the client becomes an investor. Zenner adds that the ladies who sign up to be in Utopia are exceptional, independent, and paid a lot of money. Concurrently, Julius informs William about an unauthorized encrypted communication from inside the facility. Eventually, the guards track down the signal to Austin's room, interrupting his intimate moment with the 2 women. William orders the ladies to leave and tells his men to restrain the confused client. Then, Julius finds the device Damon slipped into Austin's pocket and tells his boss that it's an ice-coated data transmitter. Because they believe the man's a spy sent by a rival company, William swiftly ends his life. On the World War II set, the soldier tells Natalie that he needs to see Alexis tonight, so she gives him a piece of paper with an executive command written on it. She explains that it'll clear the woman to make new connections, but if she makes eye contact with anyone she's already synced to, it won't work. Later, Damon informs Rupert about the AI tech they're using on the ladies, and the latter shares that the early test subjects ripped their faces off. Then, the former agent says the soldier needs to use the modified wave finder. He thinks Zenner must have discovered something the military couldn't, such as AI transmitting adaptive algorithms. Damon believes that if they're transmitting, he can shut the whole operation down. So, Rupert tells his friend to try and find an electrical panel hidden in the VIP rooms. In the nightclub, the soldier utters the executive command to his wife, who remembers snippets of their time together, and recognizes the man as an old friend. When Carl calls the woman over, Alexis says she can't because she has to entertain a long-lost acquaintance. The lady leads Damon down a hallway, and he stops and watches the guards sparring in the security room. In one of the rooms, the man tells his wife that he'll take her all over the world, just like she always wanted. Alexis, who hasn't fully recovered her memories, wonders why he seems sad even after they share a kiss. The soldier tells the woman how much he missed her and adds that her family does as well. Confused, she pretends like she knows what he's talking about, but he realizes that she doesn't remember her family at all. Concurrently, Natalie enters Michael's room where the man takes out a pistol and says that because he's paying for elite status, he intends to inflict as much damage as he can on the woman. After kissing the lady on the mouth, the client shoves her down to the floor and approaches menacingly. Suddenly, Joan appears and stabs Michael in the groin and ends his life by impaling his head with the blade. At the nightclub, Damon tells his wife that he'd like to take her back to his room, so she says she'll grab her coat and meet him by the entrance. As Alexis walks away, the soldier sees Carl staring at him, so he starts walking in the opposite direction. However, the investor catches up and orders him to stay away from the woman. In the VIP room, Damon finds the electrical panel and presses the buttons. However, when he checks if it worked, the ladies seem unaffected. Suddenly, Carl's bodyguards enter the room and a violent brawl ensues. Despite going up against two men, the soldier defeats them. As the man stumbles through the door, the smug investor tells him not to mess with him again. Outside the nightclub, Alexis helps Damon up to his feet, and they return to his room. The woman tries to initiate lovemaking, but he says they don't have time for it right now. Then, she finds the modified wave finder, so the soldier covers up the camera behind the mirror and tells his wife that the device is important to both of them. Rupert instructs his friend to use the device to scan Alexis so they can trace where the transmission is coming from. Concurrently, Julius sees an alert of another hacker in the system, so William orders a security override to prevent guests from leaving their rooms. However, when they check Damon's room, the couple's no longer there. Then, Rupert scrambles the security system, giving the pair time to navigate the premises unnoticed. The former agent tells the soldier that the signal leads to the back of the facility and that he should use the overview map on the device to locate it. Eventually, they enter the dressing room, where the man sees the other ladies lying down on their beds as if in some kind of trance. Suddenly, an armed guard appears and shoots at the couple, but Natalie and Joan take him down. Then, Damon takes the lifeless man's weapon, and Alexis picks up his key card. After using the card to access the elevator, the group heads to an upper level where they find the real women who've all been in an induced coma. The soldier tells Rupert that the abducted women were placed in hibernation and replicated, revealing that the ladies the clients interacted with were all clones. The former agent realizes that Zenner isn't controlling the women with AI because he's using the actual person to control a copy of themselves. Rupert says they need to disrupt the info feed so the women wake up, and Damon worries about what'll happen to the replicas. Concurrently, Natalie finds her real body and places the gun on the edge of the pod. Soon, the man finds his wife and initiates the awakening sequence, and she regains consciousness. However, the woman's clone takes Natalie's pistol and points it at the soldier, stating that she can't allow him to rescue his wife because she might die. Suddenly, Zenner appears and tells the woman to lower the gun because he promises to put the real Alexis to sleep again. Then, William tells Damon that he recognized him from the Special Forces and takes him away, as per the boss's orders. Moments later, the founder puts the woman to sleep, much to the clone's delight. Meanwhile, Ms. Becker intercepts Natalie, subdues her via an executive override, and tells the guards to take her away. When the soldier sees the lady and guards pass by, he attacks, steals their weapon, and takes them all out. Then, he utters the executive command to take Natalie out of the trance, and she picks up a gun to join him. After reuniting with Joan, they make their way through the ancient Rome set, where Damon ends Carl's life with a spear. Eventually, they enter a control room, and the soldier plugs in the scanner, giving Rupert access to override the system. Suddenly, Alexis's clone appears and points the weapon at Damon, but he's able to shut down the system in the nick of time. As the replicas power down, the real women start waking up in their pods. However, the soldier sees that the clones are waking up again. From his office, Zenner learns that the replicas can function without the need of a human host, so he orders his men to kill the real women. Just as the wife's clone is about to kill Damon, the real Alexis appears and shoots her. Joan, Natalie, Adelaide, and Azumi take down the guards and work together to save the human women before planning their escape. To make sure his wife is safe, the soldier asks the ladies to look after her while he finishes the job. In the dressing room, William attacks the man, and a fierce battle ensues. Damon comes out victorious, ends the opponent's life, and grabs his weapon. Concurrently, Ms. Becker tries to stop the women from escaping, but when she realizes that she can no longer control them, she fearfully opens the door. Soon, the soldier manages to fight his way out of the building and he escapes with the women in a van. Later, the delighted Zenner tells Edmund that they don't need the humans anymore, and the latter says he's prepared to finance 100% of the next phase of Utopia's rollout. In the van, the couple shares a comforting embrace, relieved that they survived the ordeal. Then, Joan says they'll need to go back to save the other replicas, and Natalie states that this is just the beginning of the resistance.
Subscribe to watch more videos like this, turn on notifications and leave a like to help the channel out. Thank you for watching.